The information provided by Trading Forex Price Action to you does not constitute personal financial advice. The information provided is of a general nature only and does not take into account your individual objectives, financial situation, or needs. It should not be used, relied upon, or treated as a substitute for specific professional advice.
Forex Recap!
Hey guys, this is the Forex Recap for May of 2020 through December of 2021. Okay, let's cover the Euro-Yen pair. Alright, we'll be using a weekly chart. So in May of 2020, there was a strong long trade that formed right here with the stop loss at this pivot low right here. And so as price came up to these levels and pulled back, I was constantly looking for long trades on the lower time frames. However, at this point right here, it was actually a weekly short trade that formed that was weaker than the previous weekly long trade. And so at this point, the bias was long, or in other words, price was likely to reach this pivot high right here before reaching this pivot low. And so as price pulled back in these areas, I was constantly looking for long trades on the lower time frames. And a couple months later, that main target was hit at this level. And furthermore, 2 weeks later, there was actually another weekly short trade that formed, which was again weaker than the previous long trade. And so again, the bias was long, or in other words, price was likely to reach this pivot high right here before reaching this pivot low. And so again, I was looking for long trades on the lower time frames. And at this point, that main target was hit right here. And price further went up with extension targets all the way up to this level right here, where there was actually a weekly short trade that formed, which was stronger than the last weekly long trade. So typically the bias at this point will be short, or in other words, price is likely to reach this pivot low right here before reaching this pivot high. However, if you guys recall, right at this entry candle level, there was actually a monthly big gap level that runs right through this level, which became a target for this last weekly short trade. And so again, the bias reverted into long, or in other words, price was now likely to reach this pivot high before reaching this pivot low. And so again, as price pulled back, I was looking for long entries, and that main target was hit at this point right here. And then following that, another strong weekly short trade formed right here. So however, same as last time, this short trade hit its main target at this level right here, which consequently made this weekly bias into long again. Or in other words, price is likely to reach this pivot high right here before reaching this pivot low. And then right away, that main target was hit at this level right here. Okay, and if you're having trouble understanding what I'm talking about in terms of weekly biases and strong and weak trades, please watch my price action trading course. For that course is designed to provide you the necessary information so you can understand these forecasts. Okay, so proceeding after that main target was hit at this point right here, price again rose with extension targets all the way up to these levels. And then if you recall, at this point right here, there was actually compact short price action that formed, which shows strong short strength. And so at this point, the bias actually became short, or in other words, price was likely to reach this pivot low right here before reaching this pivot high. And so as price came down to these levels and pulled back, if you guys recall, the last long-term trade I took on this pair was at this 132.30 level right here, with the stop loss at this pivot high and its main target being way down here. Okay, and in the further weeks on each of these pullbacks, the daily chart was confirming the legitimacy of this weekly short bias, and so I maintained the entire position. However, in these areas right here during the month of August, where trading liquidity is low, price pretty much ranged this entire time on the lower time frames, which created an interesting situation where two strong monthly trend lines were created at these levels right here. And so if you recall, I was mentioning that this last weekly short trade may have hit its target at this level right here. And then as price pulled back into these areas right here, there were confirmation on the lower time frames of short-term long strength. And so I aborted that entire position at these levels right here. However, as price came up to these levels right here, increasingly that lower time frame long strength began to wane. Now that's a common bias setup, whereas price pulls back close to that bias's stop loss level, which is at this level right here, the lower time frame's long strength begins to continually wane. And so as price pulled back to this pivot right here, this would have been a great opportunity for another short entry, again with this stop loss at this pivot high right here, and its main target being right back down here. However, as you guys know, I took a leave from trading in this entire area right here due to medical conditions. And at this point, price fell back to where it started at this point right here. And moreover, on the monthly chart, that strong monthly gap level I was mentioning earlier was broken out at this point. Okay, so at this point, this weekly bias still remains short, or in other words, price is likely to reach this pivot low right here before reaching this pivot high. Okay, and for up-to-date forecast of current and future price, please watch my weekly forecast and midweek analysis series. Alright, so that's it for this recap. I hope you guys have a great day, and thanks for watching. Okay, bye.